problem is they lose the value or the core mission of what they are set out to do. And a lot of people are hurt.
When there are too many voices, everybody has an opinion.
The charity that I run with my co-founder, Michelle Kleber, and I was beating up my chest that I'm saving the world.
I do get to see a lot of work that you're doing in, Africa, and I think you're working with 7 countries. So when you talk about these artisans, which are the countries you're targeting at the moment? Where are these artisans based?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Biz Talk with Jyoti. Today, I have in conversation Eric Osurah, who is the founder of a former marketplace, which is an artisan marketplace. He is a man with a golden heart who works extensively with sub-Saharan communities. He has recently been awarded with the Brampton Citizen Award 2024. So let's talk to Eric Osurah.
Good afternoon, Eric. Welcome to Biz Talk with Jyoti. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Jyoti. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you. So, for everybody, I know this is my very first podcast, and thank you for being there as the first guest at the podcast. I know you have taken out time, and you have been bearing with me for some time now. So, I hope this is going to be a fun conversation.
For
So,
sure.
for everyone, definitely, as I've already spoken about, Eric is the founder of a former marketplace, which is a decentralized marketplace for artisans. So, what is it basically that you mean by decentralized?
So, when you look at the existing marketplaces that we have today, right? A lot of it is very centralized. That means the CEOs, the corporations control a lot of that, right? Now, if you look at Eti's model, Eti has done amazing work for the past 2 decades, right? But the problem of when we start to see certain things happen is when companies start to make significant revenue, or shareholders start to demand of significant revenues because they want to get dividends. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the problem is they lose the value or the core mission of what they are set out to do. And a lot of people are hurt in that process, right? So being decentralized is allowing us as a venture, our customers, and our artisans to also have control or to dictate how this marketplace will be driven over the course of its existence, right? So that's one of the reasons why we will be leveraging blockchain technology, predominantly Web3 technology, right? To actually drive that progressive, decentralized approach for their former marketplace. I mean, we're not completely going to be decentralized. These things take time, but the goal is to take a progressive approach to actually achieve that. So that's really what it means. It's really about having everybody being a stakeholder in their former market.
So everybody who's a part of a former, be it the artisans, they are all stakeholders in a former marketplace.
100%. So and I'm sure you will probably touch on that a little bit more, right? So the blockchain side, and there is a protocol that I'm sure you probably will talk about, which is the former token in itself. That is what actually allows us to do that. So that means, typical example, for example, right? If we decide we want to raise our commission fee for whatever, an artisan will wake up and say, this is not fair, and make a legitimate case for it. And then they would simply say, we want to send out a proposal so that the community can vote towards that, right? That is what the core mission about decentralization is. It's not popular for a lot of these ventures, but I think it drives fairness and transparency, and that's what we really want to be all about.
Okay, so this brings me to a question. So do you think when there are too many voices, everybody has an opinion? So this will slow down the progress, or you will have hindrance moving forward. So you decide something, somebody has an objection about it. Do you think that is going to be an hindrance, moving forward?
I mean, it's a fair point that you're raising there, Jyoti, but again, it's all about, first of all, the proposal has to be made first. Someone has to say, hey, can we talk about this? That's the first bit. And then once that's done, then there's a voting process that's triggered. And obviously, in the voting process, it's never going to last for the 365 days. So we're going to put a voting process to say, hey, we want to vote on this proposal. We want to vote on this issue. And it's going to take, 24 hours, 48 hours. And if you're a token holder, right, or you're an active community member of our former marketplace, then you can cast your vote. And then it's written on the blockchain. It's transparent. Anybody across the globe can go verify, and the outcome of that vote is put forward. But people are going to say, what if we're shooting ourselves in the foot? Again, everybody is a stakeholder. An artisan wants this platform to succeed. Customers will want this platform to succeed. Our investors will want this platform to succeed. So everybody who is a token holder is a stakeholder, and the goal is everybody wants to see this venture succeed. So when we hear all the noise of too many voices, people are, there's going to be anarchy. Absolutely not. The goal is everybody that holds that protocol, holds that token, wants the platform to succeed in every way or form, right? So that's how we see it.
Right. Absolutely. So how did you come up with the idea of a former marketplace? What was the moment that got you here?
So what inspired a former marketplace is the charity that I run with my co-founder, Michelle Cleaver. So I run a charity here that's registered in Canada that does work across Sub-Saharan Africa. We started with a project in Sub-Saharan Africa where we had to work with a school in my hometown in southeastern part of Nigeria. And I was beating up my chest that I'm saving the world. And I went there and I called up the principal, and I was hoping she would ask to tell us the problem she had was pencil, crayons, little things I could use my paycheck to buy and supply to the school. And her response was a bit shocking to me because she was in a place of hopeless situation, right? She did not believe or have any belief that people would come by and help them out, right? So because she's been challenged with this issue, she's spoken with a number of people, and when she actually pointed out the real issues that they had to step away because of the amount of problems out there. So when I heard that children were sitting on concrete floors, that struck me hard. So we now decided to go start figuring out how to make benches for an entire school from primary 1 to primary 5. And when I sent someone to go verify, first of all, if truly these kids were sitting on concrete floors, the lady came back to me and told me that verified that kids were actually sitting on floors like babies, right? So I said, okay, let's make arrangements for benches and desks, school desks. But then she pointed out that the school had no roof, right? So the school has no roof. We can't put desks because rain comes, rain, shine, and sun, everything just damages. So the property. So we now I reached out to a friend of mine who is a contractor in Nigeria, and we said, can you get us someone to come give us a quote to rebuild this roof? And when the price came back to me, I almost fell off my chair. It was $6,000. That was too much for me to pull out from my own paycheck. I had mortgages to pay. And so we went to start doing fundraising. I had to start calling everybody, went to my colleagues, the executives at Dell as well, and friends, family members, and I opened up a GoFundMe account and put out there we were trying to raise $6,000. At the end of the day, we raised 10. So now we were able to roof the school, build that, paint the school, fix up the concrete floors because they were all uneven and all whatnot, and now they were happy. So I went into a high, like, oh, we've done this, so now let's move on to the next thing. But it's not sustainable. It's very expensive to do projects like this. So at the time I reached out to Michelle and I said, so how are we going to do this? And I said, why don't we start a small business so that as we generate revenue, that money can then go to funding humanitarian causes like what we're doing. And then I inquired about Michelle's business. She is a teacher, but she also makes handmade cards, right? So I asked her about her business, and at the time she had put a pause on the business. And I got more curious. And when I asked about why is she not selling on platforms like Etsy, and she explained to me, when she did the math for me, it clearly showed she would not be able to make any profit selling on a platform like that. Our cards were practically $5 or $6. By the time Etsy takes all of their fees, it practically has nothing. So that got me curious. So I started doing a lot of research. I started reading up on a lot of digital entrepreneurship, not just from a global perspective, but also focusing on Africa. And a lot of things that I discovered was outstanding, that's amazing. First of all, the handicraft sector is the second largest employer after agriculture in the developing world, right? 65% of handmade goods exported globally originate from the developing countries as well. And it's a sector, as we all know, is dominated by women, right? So, that got me curious. And I've always loved culture. I've always loved craft. I've always loved anything that has to do with handmade. So it made sense for me to start looking in that direction. And then, so when I found all the bottlenecks and challenges that these artisans, especially in low-income countries like my country, Nigeria, it made sense that, look, we need to build a platform that would be an alternative to other marketplaces that would eliminate all the existing barriers that are facing some of these artisans in these low-income countries. And in countries like in Canada, give artisans the other alternative because maybe they're looking for platforms where they can maximize their profits as well. So that was what led to the birth of Afoma at the end of the day, and we've never looked back since then.
Wow, that's a remarkable story. And how you basically took upon a challenge of roofing that school. Amazing. Sure. So I do understand that you are, from the LinkedIn posts, I do get to see a lot of work that you're doing in, Africa, and I think you're working with 7 countries wherein you are doing philanthropic activities. So could you tell us more about what are the other things that you do in these countries and what are the countries you're working with at the moment?
So we started off with Nigeria. And we've done work across 7 sub-Saharan countries, ranging from Sudan, Sierra Leone, Uganda, Cameroon, Ghana, and we don't have offices there. The charity that we run is very small, and we chose to do it that way because we don't want to take on a number of overhead, right? We see a lot of not-profit organizations where CEOs like myself are earning big fat paychecks, right? That money could go do a lot of more work. So we decided, myself and Michelle, we're not going to run this thing in a way where we're profiting or making money out of it, regardless of whether we're putting in our time. It's charity, right? So we see it as a cause. So we're not taking anything. 100% of all of our donations go towards running the operation, funding, or doing any social impact initiative in those countries. So what we also decided to do is we now reach out to volunteers. So we take a more like a guerrilla approach here, where we say, if you're in this region and you have a project that aligns with our cause, which is poverty alleviation, quality education, good health and well-being, we would like to hear from you. But we also like to look at things from a practical approach. If the projects are sustainable, right, we want to get into those, right? But we also pick our battle. We can't solve all the problems. So we also look at our budget at the end of the day. So what we tend to do is we decide that we will always do one massive big project at least in the year, and then we do smaller projects throughout the remainder of the year as well, right? So that's the approach that we've been taking in Afoma, and that's really been working for us. We don't have a lot of people that are donating massive amounts of money. This is primarily myself, Michelle, a number of other people, family members, and friends who are donating to this cause of what we're doing. So that's why we pick our battles. Hopefully, I can convince you to become a monthly donor as well. But that's practically how we've been running Afoma, and we've had a lot of significant impact over the time.
Awesome. That's great. I think you're touching a lot of lives at the moment. You're making them better in countries like this, where I think children do deserve quality education so that they can go higher in life and they see better things in life, because they are the future of any country. So if you are trying to work towards that and you are really building schools for them and you're doing amazing things for them, that's great. Really an inspiration to follow. So okay, when we talk about artisans coming to a Afoma marketplace, what basically will they be selling? What kind of artisans are you looking at, and where are these artisans? Where do they belong to?
Thanks for asking that. So all the artisans that will sell on Afoma marketplace will be selling handmade goods. anything that's practically made by hand or creativity. I'll explain what I mean by creativity. This t-shirt that I'm wearing, it has a Nike logo, right? Okay. If you have a concept or a design that you want to create and imprint that on the platform, then that's where we will allow you to do that, because that's all part of being creative, right? And then anything that has to do with handmade, you're making handmade soap, you're doing all of these other things as well. That adds to that sector as well. So anything from jewelry, fashion, home decor, arts, digital arts. I'm very big on digital art. I love digital art, and anything that has to do with even health, bathing and personal care as well, right? So anything around those ranges that you create with your hand, we will definitely take that on. For now, we're not looking at homemade goods in terms of feed for cookies and anything that has to be that consumable. We're not looking at that at this point. Maybe down the road we will, but for now, that's what we're really focused on in terms of products that can add a touch in someone's home or in someone's fashion or life or whatever.
At the moment, I do understand what are the kind of artisans who are going to sell the products and what kind of products will be there basically. So when you talk about these artisans, which are the countries you're targeting at the moment? Where are these artisans based? And how do you identify they will go to Etsy? You spoke about initially that, while we were speaking initially, I know you said a former marketplace is a Etsy with a heart. So that stuck with me for sure. So apart from this high pricing, are there any other pain points that a former marketplace is basically fixing for these artisans? And how are you finding these artisans? Where are they basically coming from?
So I'm going to answer one of the first questions that you asked me, I think, which I omitted, which is, where are we targeting? We're a global brand, right? So Afoma is incorporated here in Canada. So our first point is we will start with my local community, the city of Brampton, and then we're obviously going to spread out. So the goal is to start off here in Canada. And then right after Canada, then we now open up globally. But we'll take it country by country. But the goal is sometime, hopefully around fall window, we will be launching the main the platform. We're looking at doing a soft launch first in Canada, then we do a main launch towards fall, where we now open up to artisans globally, wherever they may be, as long as they will have they see us as the right alternative for them, for their business to thrive. We will accept them at any point in time, right? So now, where are we in terms of how do we find these artisans? Well, one is we attend, here in Canada at least, we attend a lot of craft shows, at least across Ontario. Myself and Michelle, we've spoken to hundreds of artisans already, picked up business cards, spoken with them, and try to convince them to start to get onto the platform. Now, when we look at ourselves on Etsy, there's a bit of a challenge. People are more driven to go to people platforms that are already successful, that already have traction, right? It's natural for them to do that, right? So you tend to see a lot of people moving in that direction, or maybe not in that direction, but they are more cautious to come with us because we're still new, right? So that's really where the challenge is. So our job right now is to show value. We have to find a way to show value. And we tend to do that when we interact with them. We first of all want to find out how's their business doing? How are they selling today? Are they more of a brick and mortar shop? Do they just go to platforms? Like what are they? How do they sell their craft? And maybe we can see a gap or challenge that they're facing there, and then point it out. For example, in Canada, what we tend to see a lot is artisans are not maximizing their profits. That's one aspect. They don't have transparency or support when it comes to these platforms as well, right? That's where we come in. On the former marketplace, on day one, we all said every artisan will walk away with 90% of their earnings, period. 90%. So we piloted this a year and a half ago, and we were able to demonstrate that. We were able to achieve an artisan will walk away with 90% of their earnings. And it's difficult to achieve that, but with commitment and with the right strategy, we were able to pull this off, right? So that's the one thing that every artisan will walk away with on the platform. The second thing is transparency, which is where the blockchain aspect comes in as well, right? And where I talked about the governance. They are all part of this ecosystem, right? They have a voice in what we're doing. The third aspect is we want to also build out a workshop that will allow us to even have one like a digital transformation workshop where we can guide them and educate them in the process of truly being entrepreneurs in the handicraft space. A lot of what we see today are artisans, are people who make craft, but they are not thinking like entrepreneurs. Typical example, you can speak with an artisan today. She or he will tell you all of the amazing things or show you how they build their craft. You give them a platform to come and sell. They're not thinking about how quickly I can turn this around where I need to put up a product online. I need to do certain marketing skills to showcase my brand at the end of the day. So you tend to see that a lot. Even in Nigeria, for example, when we see artisans there, when we speak with them, some of them ask me, how much should I put up for my product? I'm like, that's your product. You need to know what is the value of your product. And when we ask them simple questions like, okay, did you factor in the cost it takes you to load up a credit on your phone to call the store for where you buy your raw materials? No. Okay. Did you factor in the cost of running your generator because there's no electricity in the country? No. Did you factor in the cost of transportation and all these things? They just wake up and say, maybe my price is worth 6,000 naira. Maybe because they've seen someone else pricing 6,000, they now match, right? They are not thinking as entrepreneurs. So that's one of the things we want to do as well. So that's really one of the strategies the approaches we want to take. The issue for Africa is a whole nother problem there. Right? One, payment fragmentation is broken. What works in Nigeria doesn't work in Ghana. What works in Ghana doesn't work in Togo. Now, there are platforms today that are solving that problem, but it's not enough because the cost of transaction fees to move money around is not cheap as well, right? Mm-hmm. This is where crypto comes in. But the problem is people are still not aware or understand the benefits of crypto, and the bad players have made crypto look bad. But the real intention around crypto was to solve real world problems like this, right? Where I can send you money in an instant and the transaction fee is minimal, close to nothing, right? So these are the aspects of where we can now leverage crypto for people who are comfortable with that approach. We can remit payments to them, to those folks who have no bank account, right? Then we now look at access to capital. How many people can afford to pay the amount that Etsy is demanding of when they list the product on their platform, right? There is another competitor called Anchor that is taking the same approach as Etsy, charging money in euros. How many people, small business owners in Nigeria, can afford that? Etsy has barriers in terms of if you want to register, put up your credit card and all those things. And I get why they are doing these things because of money, they're playing it safe and all whatnot. But these are barriers that affect others from partaking in those platforms. So for us, we found a way to eliminate all of that. And then allow these people to just plug in and start thriving in their business.
I think that's an interesting point to discuss. Definitely crypto, the thing that you said, every country is using their different, platforms, and the transaction fee, the money that is converted in between, basically is eating away a lot of the funds that should go to the artisans. Now, crypto will solve this problem for sure. But the thing is, do you think introducing crypto is basically hindering the adoption to a great extent because people are not understanding what it is exactly? The idea is a little complex to them.
Absolutely, you're right. The adoption towards crypto, especially in this part of the world, is very small. When you look at Africa, you see articles being written there saying adoption in regions like in Africa is huge. True, yeah, but when you compare that to the total population of the country, it's still not a very large amount, right? The adoption will come if ventures like ours start to show real world use cases of crypto. Mm-hmm. What we're tending to see a lot is DeFi projects per se. But again, we tend to see a lot of these bad players who now turn it into a scam, right? But as long as we have the right ventures that leverage crypto to solve real world problems, adoption will come. Education towards this technology has to be done as well, right? So remember the proposal, the digital transformation. These are things we have to educate our artisans on as well. Now, on the Afoma platform, because of exactly what you said, we are going to be looking at fiat as well. So that means we integrate platforms like PayPal. That's what people are more comfortable and familiar with, right? So we will leverage platforms like that and integrate them on our platform so that we can now either process payments or use another a remittance partner to remit to the artisan. The aspect of crypto will be used for now on the platform to drive governance at the end of the day and incentivization. Incentivization meaning like where if you buy a product on our platform, we will reward you in points and then you can convert to crypto. And that already makes you a holder of the Afoma token. That means you are part of our governance structure. The same thing with artisans. If someone gives 4 to 5 star ratings or reviews for an artisan, we give them points and then they can convert in crypto. But the goal is if they choose to stay in points, they can do that. If they choose to convert to crypto, even better, because they achieved a number of things. If you become a holder of our token, you then become part of that governance structure. And the amount of tokens that you're holding will open up a number of features and benefits within that ecosystem. So we can offer discounts on listing fees when we start doing list, or discounts on setting or maybe marketing or whatever, right? Because that's the one way we can know who are active members of that community as well. So that's the one way we can track that, because everything is fair. We can see people who are holders of our tokens. It's all on the blockchain. If you look at the existing models today that we have, like on Etsy, what are artisans talking about? Etsy is rewarding people who are selling more. And it's understandable. Etsy wants to make money. They're very profit driven, right? So people are saying, look, you're focusing on these guys here because they're selling more, but we need the help. So that's where we're going to be different. That's where the Web3 and blockchain comes in, because then on our platform, we're going to reward people who are selling more. We're going to reward people who haven't sold any. We're not reward, but we're going to enable people who haven't sold anything, because how? Our team will probably pick artisans that have talent, quality stuff, but they're just still struggling. We'll do picks and put them on our landing page. These are the kind of things we want to do. The community will vote and pick artisans that they want to see on the platform as well, right, on the landing page. And then products that are newly coming in, we can showcase them as well. So you see, we're striking a balance there. We're not just focusing on the people who are bringing in all the revenue. We want to also uplift all that need the help. So this is where the crypto side of things starts to come in, and the Web3 and the blockchain side starts to enable people. And as you become a holder, the minute we also introduce certificate of ownership, because that's another thing, fraud, counterfeiting, right? In terms of product, counterfeiting, where someone could come steal your product and start selling it on our platform as well. That's where we can now say, look, you can mint your product. You say, especially artists, mint your product, get a certificate of ownership, so that then we can know who is the real guy from the bad players at the end of the day, right? And how are you going to pay? You're going to use our format token to do that, right? So that's where the value of the token really comes in. Eventually, when we start to see adoption and the data backing that up, then we start to introduce things like crypto payment systems as well. But that doesn't stop us on day one. If an artisan wants to receive their pay in crypto, we will 100% honor that and get them their money via crypto.
So I know I'm not an expert and I don't know much about the topic, but I would like to briefly touch this topic, because you are talking about transactions through crypto. You're talking about crypto token on your platform. So you seeing this as a future opportunity for Afoma to be able to sell NFTs?
Yes. Actually, the Afoma premise was for us to build an NFT marketplace. But we wanted to first focus on the products themselves, right? The physical goods and all whatnot. Let's get the marketplace out and running first. Then eventually we can now start to look at the NFT space as well. It's also been having its own challenges at the end of the day. So for us right now, let's focus on what people are more comfortable with. And then the data will show us the direction we want to go. We've talked about NFT. We've talked about building metaverses. That's all Afoma has, the protocol has been talking about, right? But AI now comes in. Now
Right.
is the metaverse now shifting away? So you now start to see we want to first be sure of the direction we want to go, and then take it from there first of all. And then the data and the community will help guide us in the right direction.
Right. So I think probably NFTs not at the moment, but maybe later on.
Not
Yeah.
at the moment. Not at the moment, but it will
Right.
definitely come. You know, when I talk about certificate of ownership, that's really NFT, right? That's really what NFTs are, right?
Mhm.
But we want to take it step by step, but it will surely come. It now depends on in what form will it come. Are we selling NFTs as an NFT marketplaces? Or are we leveraging NFTs from a protection perspective as well for our artisans on the platform?
So at the moment, I know we are both a member of BEC. So tell me a little bit about BEC, your experience, and how you're finding. I know you are. I would also go and talk about the grants that you're receiving. I see so many things happening on the LinkedIn. So I'm not stalking you. That is there on my feed. So, so yeah, what happens? I mean, you are there on so many grants, and how what are the grants you have received, and how is it helping in building a formal marketplace?
When we started our format, we got investment from family and friends. We were so blessed that they supported us. We used that money to build out our pilot. We used that to understand the behavior of these artisans and how they sell their goods on marketplaces and all whatnot, right? So the outcome of that pilot is now what allowed us to pivot and say we're going to rebuild and rebrand at the end of the day. We used to be called Celitic, right? And now we're being called a former marketplace, right? We used to build on a framework called Magento, which is now Adobe Commerce. But when we started seeing the direction we wanted to go with Web3, AI, we felt Magento or Adobe Commerce was very limited for us because we had to really customize that platform to make it multi-vendor. It's really designed for single vendors, but we had to customize it from multi-vendor. There were a lot of roadblocks, a lot of points of failure, right, using that platform. So we decided to tear everything down and rebuild from scratch. At that point in time, we ran out of money. And I have been bootstrapping since that time, right? That's the life of we entrepreneurs. So look at me here praying, we need one grant, we need one grant, we need one grant to come in. And then that's when I heard about the Brampton Starter Plus program that's run by the Brampton entrepreneurs. I know Daniel Bishop is going to hate me if I don't remember this thing, but it's the BEC, Brampton Entrepreneur. I don't know if it's council or something. Painter. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Yeah.
So I joined the startup program. That's when I got connected with you, and we went through that rigorous program of sending in homework every week and writing up, building a business plan and everything else, and doing a pitch. And we got $5,000, which was a big boost for us. Which I'm very grateful to the BEC for. We also got a grant through RAISE. I think it's the racialized, the one for indigenous and Black visible minorities. We were able to get a grant there of $10,000 as well. And these applications take forever to write up and stuff. I was lucky to be a part of a grant recipient of the Black ecosystem of entrepreneurs of Southeastern Ontario. We were just very lucky to be a recipient of that grant as well. So far we've been doing okay. Every little money counts. So we've been these grants and funds help us to continue our build at the end of the day. So that's what we've been using to actually help us build that from our marketplace. And obviously with me continuously bootstrapping and putting in my own personal money into the platform as well.
So do you think that receiving this grant is also a kind of a validation of the idea? Okay, this idea is going to work. People are liking
100%. Yeah, 100%. 100%. because these people you have to first of all apply, and you have to put out what your venture is about, your mission is about, and then they look at these things, right? So they definitely look at it and go, well, this is obviously it provides us with a validation at the end of the day, right? So it really helps.
So another thing, you were a winner of something else as well this year. You were the winner for Brampton Citizen Award. So what is it basically? And yeah, wow. So
It's heavy.
Citizen of the Year, right, for Brampton. So how did this come about? I mean,
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I One day I was at work, buzzes, and I look and I see, congratulations, you've been nominated for Brampton Citizens Award. I was like, this scam, like, what's all this phishing email nonsense? I ignored it. And then I get another email saying, congratulations, you need to move on to the next stage where they have to do a background check. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I now look at this and I look at the email and it's valid from the city of Brampton. And I start thinking, who the hell would nominate me? I reach out to Daniel Bishon. He didn't respond to me. So obviously, I don't think it was him. I started asking a number of people. I probably didn't ask you, so I'm beginning to suspect if you're probably the person. I don't know. But I reached out to a number of people and everybody said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, okay, fine. I sent him my requirements and documentation and everything. They did the background check, and then I went through the background check fine. And then they said, okay, now that I've passed the background check, now I'm going to go to city council for them to review and see if I'm still eligible for the award. And here I am, and I get an email that the city council has approved and that I should show up on so and so day to receive a Brampton Citizens Award. And, I get there and I'm seeing this, that it was hosted at the Rose Theater, so many people there. And I was like, this thing is for real. It was for real. And I walk into the Rose Theater and the whole entire floor is completely packed. The mayor shows up, MPs show up, and then they call my name, and that's how I get to receive this. It was I think it comes from I think the nomination was based on my contribution to economic development, right? Especially around small businesses, which is really what Afoma is. And when I see other people that receive that award, I just felt, look, man, I'm standing in the foot of giants. Like these guys, people who have contributed their lives to the city of Brampton for 50 years, were receiving awards. And look at me, I've been in Brampton for 20 years, but I became an entrepreneur less than 5 years, and I've been recognized for this. I felt it was a very humbling experience. Afoma hasn't even taken full root, but obviously someone saw what I've been doing and felt, look, we need to recognize this guy's effort. So whoever that is, I am truly grateful and for what he or she saw in me to nominate me for this award. And I thank the city of Brampton as well. And obviously the Brampton the Brampton Entrepreneurial Center, because that's really where the hustle really started from, right? I think once we got in there, the case started coming out, all the Brampton Venture Zones, the Altitude Accelerator programs. That's really where I started leaving some footprints there. And here we are.
Awesome. So I think a lot has changed after that, after the award, right?
I guess I don't know if I would say things have changed, but I think I've almost had a celebrity status at this point now in the city of Brampton. I'll tell you what happened today. We're planning our launch in the fall for our former marketplace. And I go to I'm looking for a venue where we'll host this event. And I go to the Gore Meadow Community Center. That's beautiful state-of-the-art community center that we have out there. Beautiful. And I'm trying to find a space where we can bring in local artisans to sell on the launch day. And they're trying to scramble, find space. Then the managers, they start to whisper to each other. And I heard pavilion. I was like, wait, pavilion? Can I get the pavilion for the artisan? And, so I said, and I started bringing out my celebrities. I pulled, some In Nigeria, they call it obuji. I started flexing my muscles. By the way, I am a recognized person in the community here, and they were all laughing. And I said, you can go call Daniel Bishon. You can go talk to Jasmine Daniel. They said, oh, wait, you know Jasmine? And I said, absolutely. I have that Jasmine on speed dial. And they were like, okay, the fact that you are a community member, we will prioritize your request and we'll see what we can do about the pavilion. So yes, things have started changing, but with some of these recognitions, I'm very, very, very happy and privileged to be receiving these things for sure.
Great. I mean, I feel privileged to speak to you. I would say I'll flaunt and say I know somebody who is a Brampton Citizen Award who has won the Brampton Citizen Award.
I know.
This person is the first person to come and talk on my podcast.
There you go. And now that I'm the first person, every other person will probably be way better than me because I've led the path at this point. So your recognition, you'll probably be competing with Trevor Noah when you release your podcast at the end of the day. Yeah. There you go.
So I understand you work with artisans. So I know you are also in touch with Brampton's art organization. So how's that going and how's that happening and what's your experience like?
I'm going to say this in the most wonderful way that I can say it. The Brampton Art Organization have done and has been doing amazing work in the city of Brampton.
Right.
Amazing work. Much respect to what they have been doing. However, I still have a bit of frustration here. And I'm hoping they will not see this and say, this guy is just a horrible guy. I'm someone that speaks from the heart. I am a Brampton startup. And Mayor Brown, I've heard Mayor Brown speak so many times. And we all know the backbone of the Canadian economy is small business. In fact, in most countries today, especially the G7 countries, the backbone of these economies are small businesses, right? And I might be wrong, but that's what we see here in Canada. As a Brampton startup, aligned with the same goal as the Brampton Art Organization, and when I said, I'm trying to help plug into your community to have a way to help these artisans themselves, but indirectly to help us grow as a brand as well. And when you keep having people tell you, okay, fine, come up with one reason or the other, and then they say, we can promote you, just share with us anything you want to put out on social media and we'll promote it for you. For me, it's not good enough. I think that the city of Brampton, the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, all of these institutions across the city, they need to do more. And in doing that, they have to find ways to help these small business owners. A lot of people feel having these grants is good enough. Yes, it's good, but this money depletes and what next? It's when you open doors for small businesses, for them to network with people, eliminating barriers for them. That might go a longer way. I was speaking with a founder that was also part of the Startup Plus program. I'm going to obviously not reveal his name, but he was doing a sort of like an event, where he's talking about the product and how to drive lead marketing strategies and all whatnot using his product and all whatnot, which is it's a very good product. He had to go to an institution here in Brampton, I think the Chambers of Commerce, whatever, right? And I inquired, how did you get to do this? Because if you remember, that's what they all taught us in the program. You have to network. You have to create value. You have to go do podcasts. You have to write blogs. You have to train people, go talk at events. And he's doing what he was told to do. But when I inquired, how did you get to do this? Because so that other people like yourself, we can get the same opportunity to go do that, to grow our brand. He said, yeah, you have to be a member to be a part of, to do the launch and learn whatever event there. And guess what? So I go and I check out what it costs to be a member. $700 and something. I'm bootstrapping this company.
Yeah.
You want to take $700 from me first to be a member? For me to promote my startup to your community. And yet, if I grow and attain an Etsy status in the city of Brampton, who do you think is going to benefit as well? The city will benefit. I will hire people from Brampton. I will build offices, probably schools. I will contribute to the community because the community gave me that opportunity to grow. So,
right.
That's my frustration, but it doesn't take away anything from what they've done. They do amazing work, but I think we have to also start looking for ways to make Brampton startups work effectively as well. When we talk about communities, about finding ways to lift each other up. So anyways, I'm going to probably find another strategy. Maybe I might sneak into one of their workshops and talk to one of their artisans there and say, please, can you sign up to our former marketplace? Maybe that's one way I might do it, since they at that top level probably don't see the value in building that partnership with us. And we're a small fry. That's the way I take it. If we were probably a Shopify or an Etsy, I'm sure that a lot of people will be looking to, oh, come on, let's do something with you. But one day we will.
Absolutely. Sure. I'm sure of it. Yeah. So I think you have a few things wherein I wouldn't say completely disappointed, but you are showing disagreement with a lot of systems that are there. So one of the articles that I read on LinkedIn, which had a read more and redirected to your blog. So that was about CDAP, and it's I think you say it's not practical in many ways. So I would like to learn more about what exactly do you want to talk about when you say it's not practical. Where do you see is the hurdle?
Let's do some math here, okay? So the Canada Digital Adoption Program has a grant in two streams. One is I've forgotten what they're called, but one gives a grant of $2,400 to start up your online platform, right? To get you go online. The other one gives you $15,000 to then scale, okay? All right, now, the requirement of the $2,400 is that you must be making at least $30,000 within a span of 3 years. You must have made $30,000, okay? And you also need to have full-time employees. Okay, please tell me here, how does the math work? $30,000 full-time employees, that means you must be earning $30,000. Yes, right? You have to be earning more than $30,000.
Right.
What will $2,400 do for me? I'm already earning over 30 grand, probably 50 grand or whatever. What would $2,400? Don't get me wrong, there are people who earn that kind of money, but they still come in to take the 2,000 from people like us who have nothing. We're fighting these guys. Let's take the breadcrumbs, right? Difference with 2,400 give me. So now people like myself are cut off completely. Why? Because we are pre-revenue. We have no full-time employees, so we don't have access to that grant. Let's look at the other flow. The other flow gives you $15,000, but I think you have to be making $500,000 in revenue. Please, Jyoti, explain to me how you're already earning $500,000 in revenue annually. What would $15,000 is the cost of business, right? So you now give them $15,000, and yet people who are still pre-revenue don't have access to that grant. How are you driving digital adoption at the end of the day? How does that make sense? If you're trying to drive digital adoption, you're targeting people who have no clue about how to go drive digital adoption. They probably are not even raising any revenue. But for me, and I know it's very controversial, and maybe people might not like how I'm putting this out there, but if you're earning $50,000 annually already, right, we should be looking inward to people who are still pre-revenue, but have enough potential to do wonderful things. And a lot of people that look like me predominantly are in that situation because they don't have access to funds. They are raising their own money, right? So why are we not giving or revamping that process, that program to suit those individuals, right? I spoke with a government official, not from the city here, and one of the things that I found out was the fact that these grants even exist and they don't have people making the cut. So we have money just sitting there.
Right, because not enough people can claim it.
People are not meeting the requirement. So why can't we do better? We need to get the policymakers to really look into these grants and figure out how can we make it work, right? We have to drive digital adoption, but you have to also look at finding ways to make these requirements more inclusive. And I felt that someone needed to talk about it. So I wrote up a blog. I put it out there. If you just Google up CDAP and type the word inclusion, it's on Google first page. So I guess Google likes controversy as well. So that's why I landed on Google first page. When it comes to CDAP and the word inclusion. So yeah, that's just my frustration about the program. Again, I'm not disputing that these things haven't done amazing things over the years, but I feel we can do much better, honestly.
No, I get that idea. So, at the moment, you're pre-revenue. So, what are your plans about, seeking funding from VCs, or maybe you are looking at doing some seed funding at the moment or something like that?
Well, first of all, we have to launch. So we are hoping if our developers will, for the love of God, finally get us to release this platform. We're hoping to do a soft launch June, July. We want to capture any artisan that really wants to pilot with us in our soft launch. So we will bring them on the platform. We will get friends, families, colleagues, all of anybody who's a craft enthusiast to support the small business owners who are piloting with us. We are offering free shipping labels on the platform. They will be taking home over 90% of their earnings. We will offer one-on-one consulting to get them comfortable on the platform as well. We'll offer global shipping as well. And we'll offer them 1 year free unlimited product listing on the platform as well. 1 year unlimited, right? So if they come in and they sell with us, we will drive sales for those products or for those small business owners that are selling with us. That is the first point path for us. We want to show traction, right? Once we show traction in the fall, as I pointed out, we want to now go bigger. And that's when we now start expanding our logistics framework in terms of so that we can get artisans who are in Nigeria, Uganda, wherever, Morocco, India, to sell globally, right? So we will, that once we establish that or have that integration on the platform, then that's when we will do our full launch. And at that point, we want to showcase all of the additional technologies, artificial intelligence. We will leverage that on the platform, right? Because we want to allow artisans who don't know how to write product descriptions. We want to make it seamless for them on the platform, right? So we're leveraging all these technologies. So hoping that around fall, we will have a wonderful launch event, of which I'm very sure you'll always be there to support us. And hoping I'm using this opportunity. If the mayor is going to watch this, I'm asking Mayor Brown hopefully to come and attend. We have to write an official request, obviously. So that is so once we start to show that traction, then we can now start talking to interested parties that might see what we're doing and want to partner with us. We are also open to grants, but the problem is that a lot of these grants, they also tell you you have to gain traction as well. They want to see some traction. They want to see that you have full-time employment. Again, we have to really start looking at these grant programs. So yeah, so that's the plan. Once we start to show traction, then we can start talking to interested parties. As of now, we are not. And I think it's fair. We want to definitely be doing the right things and make sure that whoever is talking to us can see that this is a platform that works. And at the same time, we also don't want people taking advantage of us, right? We want to make sure that the company is valued at what it's supposed to be as well. And we also want to be very careful that we don't lose the premise of what our former marketplace is, because remember the word decentralization. So whoever we're going to be talking to has to have an understanding of our mission overall, and they have to be looking at enabling that mission for us, but not to tear it down. So that's our approach in terms of finding ways to make generate revenue through our former.
Awesome. So yeah, I think I am through with all my questions that I had in mind. So do you have any, because I would want our viewers to know what are the different social activities you are doing. You are a social entrepreneur, and everything that you're doing is going to, at the end of the day, contribute to the community. So if there is an artisan on the platform, or if they're buyers, they're all at the end of the day contributing towards a bigger goal. So I would, apart from this, I know you're also doing other charities. So do you have any links where you want to send donations to? People can send donations to. So what I can do is that I can put it on the description. I think people would love to hear your story and donate for the good cause.
Absolutely. Like as you said, I wear multiple hats. I am the director of Azoneta, AZONET, which is the charity that we have registered here in Canada that does work across sub-Saharan Africa. You can visit our website, azoneta.org, and if you feel the need to donate to any of our causes there, just kindly do so as well. We're looking for community partners as well. Hoping maybe if the BAO will see this podcast, they'll be like, okay, fine, let's give him let's go talk to this guy. He's becoming a nuisance, right? So we are looking for community partners because we want to really contribute back to the community, right? That's what this thing is about,
Okay.
right? We want to find ways to enable the community as well. As I said, we're planning towards our fall launch event. So we're going to be reaching out to Brampton, local artisans as well. We want them to come and sell their craft and see what we are all about as well. So obviously some announcements will be done about that. And hopefully once we nail down the venue and all whatnot as well. We are currently doing 2 projects through Azoneta right now that has to do with menstrual poverty for young women in Uganda. And we will be undertaking another project, and I don't know if Michelle has actually announced this, so please, Michelle, don't kill me. But we will be undertaking another significant project where we have a school that has been dilapidated, destroyed by weather and all whatnot. Kids are now sitting outside taking classes. So we were able to, that's part of the fundraising that we just did a few weeks or about a month or so ago now. And we are now looking at renovating that school and making it accessible to the children in that community. So that's what we're working on right now. Obviously, our former is now a daily event that we're doing every single day, trying to map out ways to help community, help individual youth as well. Because our former as a community, we will be working with youth, whether you're in Canada, if you're willing to, or predominantly, or we'll work with youth in Africa. You and I talked about this briefly, Jyoti, about how we want to bring in youth to retrain them, give them tools to know how to manage e-commerce platforms, work with artisans, whether in their local country or internationally, and give them some skill set, right, that they can use to find jobs, whether remotely or locally in their country, and we provide referrals for them as well. And these are things that we can definitely help use to give to youth in a country, or in a continent where 70% of its population, as you know, is predominantly youth, right? So, and we're not just doing this for Africa. We want to plug into, other countries, India, Pakistan, wherever, anybody that's willing to be part of our ecosystem, we will gladly have you as well. So that's where these are the things we're working on. These are how we're trying to communicate and build partnerships with the artisans. There are a number of craft shows that we'll be going through during the summer period as well. And we're going to be very, very busy. We are very busy at that format, and we'll just keep taking it one day at a time.
I think hard work is going to pay off. I think you're putting in a lot of hard work, and and it's not just for you. It's you're putting in a hard work for a lot of people. So I think it's going to work out beautifully for you and for
Amen.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Eric, for joining us here today. I think a lot of people you're talking about, they get to hear this. and do some actionable things. I wish you all the very success for a former marketplace and all the endeavors that you're taking. And thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thanks for having me. And good luck in your podcast. Hopefully, we'll see you ranking top 10 on Spotify someday.
I hope so. Keeping my fingers crossed.
So, that, my friends, was an insightful conversation with Eric. I look forward to bringing more guests on Biz Talk with Jyoti. Till then, thank you.